Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Nora's Retail Up webinar series, a series created to drive vital conversations, provide insights to all retail leaders across Australia and New Zealand. It's great to have you all with us today. Just to introduce myself, I'm Sam Wood, the CEO and co-founder of Azura Fashion Group. Azura is a luxury fashion distribution company where we buy and sell luxury fashion from all over the world. We buy from boutiques globally, from anywhere from Prada, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and we sell them through retailers in Australia. We've started down our journey of AI and looking to how we can really dive into that and increase our profit share as well as our market share across the business. So I'm very excited to hear what Rebecca and Marcus have to say today. Before we dive into today's topic, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today, and pay respect to elders past and present and emerging. We extend that respect and welcome to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders guests joining us today. Also, I'd like to remind everyone there will be an opportunity to ask questions towards the end of the conversation and send them through at time. We'll spend 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the session to answer those questions. With me today, there are two brilliant thought leaders, and together we're going to be going through how to cut through Gen AI and the noise that it creates around it. What that really means and what we can help shine a light on and then tap into the opportunity for our retailers listening today. If you joined us today, it's probably fair to say that you're curious as I am and to know more about this, and this is where our guest speakers come in. Rebecca, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Trustana and what you're kind of looking to do?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sam, and thanks to the Nora Network for inviting Trustana and myself to participate in this webinar. Excited to kind of share a bit about our experience in AI. So I'm Rebecca. I'm the CEO of Trustana. My background, I've been in commerce technology for about a decade at this point, first working in the logistics and distribution side, then of course on the marketplace side, and most recently on the product data side. So Trustana, our goal really is to help retailers to monetize their product data, their SKU data. And we did this by basically following retailers through the end-to-end journey of aggregating, enriching, and then syndicating that product data to the various sales channels that you may be selling your products on. And we do this in order to drive a superior buying experience for customers, which can lead to better awareness and conversion rates, as well as increasing team productivity by taking away some of the mundane tasks that your team may be doing and freeing up their time for higher strategic tasks and higher value contributions to the company at large. So we really follow the end-to-end product journey, and you'll hear me talk about this a little bit more later in the webinar as well. From unifying the first-party data to filling in gaps in objective data to generating marketing content, even to expanding sales channels and geographies with localization capabilities. So excited to be here. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. And Marcus?
Good morning, everyone. Morning. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Nora Network, for inviting me. My name is Marcus Spurrell. I was until recently the Chief Technology Officer. Prior to that, the Chief Digital Officer of Dairy Farm Retail Group. Dairy Farm is a $30 billion retailer in Asia with 10,000 stores in 10 countries. We run supermarkets, health and beauty stores, 7-Eleven franchises, and second largest, I think, IKEA franchisee globally. Prior to that, worked for Ahold Delhaize as Senior Vice President of Personalization, Digital Data, Analytics, and Loyalty. And then prior to that, I was working for Adidas in various places around the world, most recently as Global Head of E-commerce. Today, I am the CEO of DMALL International, which is a retail technology group. We deliver a SaaS retail platform that does all the technology that drives retail. So everything through from your ERP, your warehouse management systems, point of sale systems in stores, handhelds that team members use, websites, mobile sites, and all of our tech today is AI driven. So I'm excited to at least share part of the journey that I've been on over the last few years, and happy to be you all.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think the three key points we really want to get out of today is demystifying the AI noise. So like clearing the air, there's a lot of buzz around AI at the moment. Today, we're going to strip that back and we're going to see how we can actually move that needle to help your business grow. The other one is understanding the concerns. So there's concerns about AI, absolutely valid. Job displacement, privacy issues. There's a lot on the radar at the moment, and we want to be glossing over them to kind of see how we can actually tackle AI as responsibly. And the last one would be avoiding the pitfalls. They're out there. Over-dependence on AI, losing on the human touch. We've all seen it. Our focus today is around how to use AI as a tool and not a crutch. To enhance the work we're doing and experiences we're actually delivering as a businesses. So I think what we would like to start with is maybe go through examples of how AI applied to technical retail space and how that product description kind of model works. Marcus, if you could kind of lead us off with that one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Rebecca's really the one to talk about this. Trustana is an amazing company in what they do. And I highly recommend that people have a look at their product, particularly if you're in the e-commerce space today. I'd say for the last 5 years, one of the things that I've been doing has been building all of the web and all of the mobile sites for our businesses across Asia. Dairy Farm has 43 different businesses. And when I took over, we were basically still running late 90s websites, like first generation websites. And so we wanted to rebuild in a very modern way using modern tech. We set up a joint venture with a Chinese company. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but that's the company I'm CEO of now. And we started to look at how we could use AI for different aspects of our business. And I guess the key breakthrough for me with the advent of large language models, I guess 18 months ago, was this ability for our teams to, for the first time, communicate with machines, basically using the language that we use to communicate with each other, right? So we use, in my case, English language to communicate. And instead of having to kind of use a computer code or to learn some sort of a computer language, we could now have our team members at the working level communicating with an advanced AI in order to drive results, right? And so one of the first examples of that we did was we looked at product descriptions, right? Which is what Trustana does today fantastically. Because one of the problems that we had as a retailer was if you're running supermarkets and you have 10 to 15,000 SKUs in your stores, you need the data about all of those products. And although in theory you can go upstream to manufacturers and you can contact them and they can provide you with the data, the truth is when you're trying to do that at scale, it's very difficult to do. And what you're really looking for in a product description is something that emotionally resonates with the customer, right? So it describes the product properly, and yet it really kind of brings to life all of maybe the romantic connection that a customer might have with any given food. And what we found the very first time that we just typed in, I think we were using Marmite actually in Hong Kong that we were trying to sell. We typed in, give us a product description of Marmite because we didn't have one. And instantly from ChatGPT 4, this was 3.5, ChatGPT 3.5, I think, the first iteration, we got like 4 or 5 paragraphs that describe the product absolutely perfectly. It's structured data. It gave, the size, the pack size, a little bit of the history, the nutritional value, and described the product and the flavor that it gave enormously. And for us, that was absolutely transformational. So I had at the time a team of 5 people. This is in January of last year, 2023. And with a team of 5 people, we were basically able to produce 200 product descriptions a day. So 1,000 product descriptions a day. And over a 3-week period, we basically rebuilt the entire catalog that we had. And not only that, because we are based in Hong Kong, and in particular, well, we're based across Asia, but in Hong Kong in particular, we have a lot of different languages that are spoken. We were able to translate that. GPT 3.5 could translate that into Chinese. Now, the Chinese translation wasn't fantastic, it has to be said, so we had to do a lot of corrections to that. But it was, again, for us, a massive leap forward. And it had a dramatic impact on our sales, right? We immediately saw 5% uplift when we published all of that, published that to the website. We saw a 5% uplift in our sales. So for us, I think that was absolutely transformational. And it taught us internally a lot about how, or at least it was the first part of our journey, I suppose, about how to work with this amazing new tool. And since then we've gone on from strength to strength, and I can talk about later on about how that works across other functions in the organization. But first of all, yeah, it's worth saying that it was very empowering for the teams that were using it. It was impactful at the sales level, and I think it was just transformational in terms of the energy that it gave to the team.
Perfect. Thank you. And Rebecca, I guess obviously with the wealth of knowledge around Trustana, it'd be good to see where that kind of comes into it and how you guys play in that market.
Yeah, definitely. And what Marcus is saying is exactly, I think, especially on the results side, what we've been able to see with our customers as well. So just to talk a little bit deeper into what Trustana does, we very much recognize that that product data should be thought of as a journey, right? So when you onboard a SKU into the system, as Marcus says, the ideal situation is that the supplier or the manufacturer is giving you the necessary data to then handle that SKU through your systems, but that maybe doesn't happen as often as we would all like. And so then you're kind of stuck with this idea of not only then getting that product data into your system from a operational perspective, but then turning it from something into a market ready or a sales ready catalog that you can then use for your various sales channels. So that's what Trustana really aims to do, is to support each step of that journey. So I can give actually an example maybe of a retailer that we recently worked with here in Singapore. So this retailer, mid-market sized retailer, 40,000 SKUs, selling mostly a combination of F&B plus home goods, medicinal products, etc. And their old process was essentially when they onboarded SKUs, they had an agency, actually they outsourced this to an external agency to help them to essentially take the product data and manually enter it into their ERP. And then they had somebody in their team, one or two individuals who were responsible for the e-commerce site. They had their own brand.com, plus they were selling on marketplaces, whose job it was to manage everything to do with the e-commerce and brand.com and the marketplace. And as you can imagine, with 40,000 SKUs, she was quite overwhelmed. There was a lot of things for her to do, even with the agency helping her. Plus, there was also, because Singapore, of course, multi-language country, so they were looking for the output in multiple languages, and they wanted to handle also the objective data. So what they had on their website, kind of her best effort, was a name and a brand, kind of the name of the product and a picture, and that's kind of it. Nowadays, customers expect a lot more, right, in order to make a purchasing decision. So they're looking for more information about what that product is, maybe even a sustainability information, ingredients information, allergen information for food and beverage, materials for maybe fashion. There's a lot more expectations for what customers are considering. And so when Trustana came in, we were able to help them offload this outsourced team. And so anytime a new SKU comes to the system, we take whatever file that their supplier can provide, or we take a picture of the product, either or, and we're able to then help them to fill in the objective data about that SKU. And then also with that objective data filled in, then do a great job on also helping to turn that catalog into a market ready data. So now they've transformed, they're able to get all their SKUs online, not only on their own .com, but also on the marketplaces as well, with kind of the full information there. And what I think is also remarkably interesting about this use case is that it's not just about the objective data and product descriptions. Those are definitely important. But we were able to do things, for instance, like on the F&B side of things, add in text that was like how to use, or recipes, suggested recipes, or complementary products. And those are really some of the maybe supplementary attributes that are hard for humans to produce without the help of a machine at scale. But now with the kind of AI, with the tool that Trustana has built, we're able to do at scale and flexibly for our customers. And that helps to add more of a color and helps customers to make that purchasing decision, and is what leads to that uplift in conversion that we were able to see.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think as an advocate for that, I think our business specifically is all around receiving line sheets from fashion suppliers all over the world, and the data that comes in from these fashion houses is very, very minimal, and a lot of it is either in different language, or the data's not there, or different sizing. And a lot of it, and this might sound bad, but a lot of it is written by creatives that think they're very good at writing descriptions that are good for marketplaces, but it's all a lot of fluffy words that don't actually translate. So a lot of our things that we work with Azura is around how do we convert this raw data into catalog ready data that's ready for marketplaces all over the world. Because for us, I know we sell through about 60 marketplaces, and each marketplace we sell through has a different requirement of how the data is needed. Like, obviously you've got your Google taxonomy, but then you've got other taxonomies for other marketplaces like Farfetch that are almost 6 levels deep in terms of a fashion category. And when you get a line sheet that's only, say, women's clothing, dresses, how do you kind of do that at scale? I think we've around 100,000 products, and it's how do you do that at scale without using AI? It's almost really impossible. And I think that's really the biggest part. I think this AI is going to change. It's how businesses and brands sell on marketplaces, not just your Googles and your Facebooks. It's your Amazons, it's your Farfetches, your Net-a-Porters. Because really, whilst it is enriching that product description data, it's everything that comes with it. It's the taxonomy, it's the HS codes going into new countries. It's really finding all that information, which I think what you guys touched on is really important. And I think only AI can really generate that, and it's how people in that data role can leverage AI, whether it be ChatGPT or something else, which kind of leads me into the next segue around Marcus, around how you guys are using Copilot. There's a lot of noise around ChatGPT, but not much around Copilot. So it'd be good to kind of understand how you guys kind of dive into that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think Copilot, again, I mean, hugely transformational for anyone who, for example, is signed up to the Microsoft Office suite at an enterprise level. I mean, you have GPT-4 is built in now to PowerPoint, into Word, into Excel. And so these tools are greatly empowered, right? I think that's the first thing to say. So what we did internally as an organization at DFI was that each of the functional leads was required to work with certain members of their team, so 2 or 3 members of their team, and start to put together some ideas of how that they could drive value using GPT as a co-pilot. So, for example, in my own area, I had a team that was developing code for our websites and for our mobile sites. And we started to use GPT to develop the code. We also started using Bard, Gemini now, when it came in, and we did a lot of side-by-side comparisons of those, which I could go on about endlessly. The way we came to describe Copilot over time, and we saw this not only in the coding environment, but also across legal, across supply chain, across other teams that were using this. And I'm talking about using this at a very basic level, right? I'm talking about people who are just sitting down with an interface, an enterprise interface into the Copilot, and just asking it to produce code, for example, for a given page. Create the code for a product detail page that displays, you know, an entire category of images, and then just seeing what comes back. And what we found was that the way we described Copilot was as a junior, whatever it was. So in my case, let's say a junior coder, somebody who's at a junior level, but that can code at the speed of light, right? So basically, you ask it for a bit of code, and it just produces the code for you almost instantly. GPT tends to sort of type it all out for you. Gemini is so fast, it tends to just pop the whole lot instantly up in front of you, which is mind-boggling when you first interact with it, but it's sloppy. So we thought of it as a junior coder that types at the speed of light, basically, but it's sloppy. So you need a coder, a more mid-level coder or a senior coder to go back into that code and just sort of sense check that it all makes sense. Quite often the code wouldn't run, but it would be just because a colon was missing or a slash was missing somewhere in the code, right? And what we found basically was that within about 6 months, 30% of our code was being developed was being written by Copilot. Today, I run this retail technology company called DMALL, as I said at the beginning. We have, over time, seen the number of developers that we've needed to work on day-to-day tasks reduced because we've been using Copilot. And we've been able to reskill those people into more AI-driven coding capabilities that we apply to solutions across our business. We've got AI cameras for anti-fraud, for checkout, that use AI to scan self-checkouts in our supermarkets. We have AI-driven cleaning robots. We've got smart energy systems. And we were able to sort of take people away from those, what we call these days, menial tasks in coding, and really transfer them across to more high-value activities, particularly around advanced AI solutions for retail.
No, perfect. I think we.
And sorry, Sam, just to take that one step further. So we found the same thing, for example, in legal, right? So the legal teams are doing the same thing. They're drawing up a legal contract. You tell GPT what it is you want it to write, what the contract is about, the base of the contract, and then it just instantly writes a contract, right? But in international law or maritime law or whatever it might be, it writes the contract. Again, somebody needs to go back in and make sure that, you know, all the I's and the T's are dotted and crossed. But the core menial task is just taken away, and you can really reskill people and repurpose your teams across more high value activities.
Which kind of leads me into the next question. Is obviously we know now that AI is not just a hype, it's around how we can build that data up. But Rebecca, I think if you could go into how businesses can implement it and how they can use it, and what you guys have seen in the market.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of options for how retailers and all companies can really be using AI. So in retail in particular, I think the most common examples that I see folks looking at is customer service, marketing use cases, kind of broadly speaking, and then also even like physical store operations. And maybe I'll just touch upon a couple of examples there. So for customer service, I think this is, you know, there's kind of a lot of options out there with folks who are just essentially utilizing LLMs as a way to back their instant, their online responses, right? So for customers who are sending in queries on their website, kind of respond to that. The store operation ones, there's some interesting things that are happening too, not necessarily LMs, but kind of AI as a broader term around computer vision. So now there's companies that will allow you to take pictures of your shelves and can help you to analyze what's selling out quickly, what's empty, what's kind of still stocked, how much space various brands are taking on those shelves, and maybe help you to kind of optimize your store layout. Another example is, you know, what Sam, you were saying about marketplaces, right? So I know that as talking to a lot of retailers, some of them are considering opening their own marketplaces. And this is another, I think, area where AI can kind of provide significant value, because as you were saying, right, every marketplace will have its own categorization. Every category will then have its own set of attributes, right? So F&B will have ingredients, but fashion will have sizes, for instance, and those are attributes that are specific to those categories. Multiply that by however many categories you want to support, and you know, maybe however many levels deep you want to support, and you've got a pretty complex system from a structural perspective, not even talking about how you fill that data in. So marketplaces kind of differ a little bit because the volume is significant, right? We're talking millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions of SKUs, as opposed to you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of SKUs. And these cases, AI can really help to speed up the onboarding process, right, for those marketplaces. You can onboard new SKUs into your own schema pretty quickly. Again, doing 60 to 80% job, as Marcus was alluding to. You can even have the AI help you to generate the tags against each of those products in order to service filters or meta tags. You can have it add SEO keywords to your products in order to enhance discoverability. And all of that can eventually lead to better conversion, better rankings on Google, and better productivity for your team. So a lot of different examples for how retailers can really embrace AI these days.
Yeah, no, great, thank you. And Marcus, just touching on that, I guess how you've seen that AI can be helped to increase the conversion rates, and not just through the product description type, but maybe some other techniques?
Yeah, so in Hong Kong, I think 3 years ago, we launched because in Hong Kong, DFI, the Dairy Farm Group, we are the largest supermarket group, we're the largest convenience store group, largest health and beauty store. We're part of Jardine's network. We have a fantastic array of brands within a single market, right? So supermarkets, health and beauty, convenience stores. We're the largest restaurateur in Hong Kong, and we've got a sister partnership with KFC and Pizza Hut. And so 3 years ago, we launched a loyalty program, a loyalty application that brought all those brands together in a single loyalty program. I can talk for ages about how we managed the data to get all of that into a sort of single database and basically a single legal entity. But we did that, we put a lot of work into that, because once we had a single database across all of these different brands, and the loyalty program really took off. Today, it's got 4.8 million subscribers in the program out of an adult population of about 6.5 million people. So we've got about 70% of the population signed up for the loyalty program. And the way the core basis of the program is that each of those brands is going to feed in promotions on a weekly basis into the system, right? And so all of those promotions from IKEA, from the supermarkets, health and beauty stores, all of those promotions come into us. And basically, we've got 4.8 million customers. And we might have on any given week, let's say 130 to 140 different offers across the different teams. And basically, we use AI to match clusters of, and this again, to Rebecca's point, this isn't an LLM, this is more general kind of application of AI technology. We look at the 4.8 million customers, and the AI can look at each individual customer and look at their propensity to respond to any given promotional offer. And it will predict that what the best optimal cluster of promotions is to send to each individual, and what the redemption rate of that individual will be. So if I say, okay, Marcus will respond, we think Marcus has a 60% chance of responding to this particular promotion. And that will cost us roughly 10 cents. They send me 26 offers in a week. They think the total redemption across that will be X, and they can work out how much they want to spend to retain me or to drive me to a different loyalty ladder. And when you're doing that for 4.8 million customers every week across the 130 different offers, no human can do that, right? That is where the AI comes into its own. And it is super technical, to be absolutely straightforward. I mean, we had a team of nearly 100 people working in that group, but the impact that it had in terms of all of our loyalty metrics, and also in terms of, in particular, driving like-for-like sales in our stores, was amazing. In our supermarket stores, we were seeing about a 1.5 to 2% like-for-like growth driven just from this program, right? Which in the supermarket industry is very significant, right? We would be very happy seeing 1% like-for-like growth at a store level. So these are huge numbers for us. So, and again, without AI, it just wouldn't be possible to put together a program.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you've nailed it there with the way that, I guess, AI is being used. But when you look at it from the outside in, and looking at how AI can enhance people's jobs rather than kind of take them away, and really show how individuals can focus on using AI to kind of bolster their own skills. It'd be good to see how you can touch on that with both your experiences around how people are using AI, or how they can use AI to only increase their workload. Rebecca?
Yeah, I think firstly, AI is a fairly umbrella term. It involves actually a lot of technologies underneath, like we were talking about earlier. And LLMs is maybe a subset of that, or it's a specific type of AI, but there's of course other kinds, OCR, which is optical character recognition, NLP, natural language processing, etc. And so one thing I think to keep in mind is just what are these technologies good at, and what are they not good at? So for example, LLMs are very good at text-based work, but they don't have any concept, for instance, of word count. So if you wanted it to say, write me a description of 1,000 words, it doesn't know what 1,000 words is. It can write you the description very well, but it can't kind of do that last mile. So it's really good at generating marketing slogans. It cannot help you with accounting. So there's always going to be these shortcomings that these technologies have. That being said, as Marcus was giving with his examples, if you treat it as maybe a junior team member or as an augmentation tool, I think it can take away a lot of that manual repetitive work that individuals have to do. So the examples that I was giving earlier, where there's somebody who's manually uploading products into systems and kind of manually transforming the data to fit with marketplace A to marketplace B to marketplace C, that's not that is obviously extremely important work, but that individual definitely could be doing something higher, more strategic with their time. And so if you think of kind of these AIs as basically being able to do, let's say 60, 80%, like a solid first draft, then the final touch is the last 20 to 40%. That can make all the difference, actually. That's where you can add the personalization if you needed to, your brand tone if you wanted to do that. And it's also where you ensure that the product is actually fit for the purpose that you have. So I very much believe that AI is not going to be replacing jobs. Not the current version of AI is not going to be replacing any jobs. But it's very much something where it's going to be a tool that helps humans to do your job better, or even make your job more interesting and take away some of the boring tasks from your plate.
Yeah, no, definitely. Marcus, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think again, I mean, the junior developer analogy, or however you really kind of want to think about it, it's really is it's staff augmentation ultimately. I mean, I do attend a lot of kind of AI-driven events and talk to a lot of people about how they're deploying AI in their organizations. And what I have found so far, really interestingly, is that people who are really deploying AI at scale are not reducing necessarily their headcount, right? I mean, I'll give you an example. My own company, right? We have 2,000 developers because we're a software company. We have 2,100 developers to be precise. All of those developers are using Copilot, and that we've been doing that now for more than a year, and we still have 2,000 developers, right? So nobody's lost their job. At least, as Rebecca says, at least at this phase, I don't see jobs being replaced. I just see that our people are more effective and they're faster. So with our speed to market to bring solutions, particularly now AI-driven solutions, our solution suite across AI has just proliferated hugely in the last year. And I think that makes us very competitive in the market. We've got very bright people who are now really applying their skills to thinking about new solutions for driving retail forward. So yeah, at the moment, I think it's really just more like a powerful helper for each individual at their desk to get their job done more effectively, at a higher speed, and where they can think more strategically, perhaps, or more creatively about solutions that they want to bring.
Oh,
Lost him.
we lost him. He'll come.
I'll just jump into just on where he was going with that, but I think more so around we've spoken around the product data and the product descriptions and how the mapping process works. But it'd be good to kind of get some examples of how the sales and marketing side of the business can be impacted by AI, and if you've got some concrete examples you could share with us, that would be great as well.
Yeah, so I think if we kind of leave aside the product description part of it, another area that I think has been really interesting, that retailers can definitely take advantage of is in pricing. So right now, maybe won't name any names, but we know a retailer in Singapore who essentially, when their merchandising team is looking at kind of setting prices for their products, they get a report from their analyst team once a quarter. That basically helps them to understand, okay, here's what the competitors are selling, and these are the products, and this is the price point. And once a quarter is already so much work for their analyst team to produce that they can't do anything more frequently than that. And so when these merchandisers or the category managers are looking at setting then their prices and how they want to position their products for the next period of time, 3 months behind, right, in terms of where the market has moved. And so a lot of their work is still very much done on gut instinct or experience. And that of course is definitely a big part of the job. But with AI, you can now actually use that to start gathering competitive prices and competitive intelligence about what else is happening in the market, not only in your own geography, but also in other geographies on a hourly, daily, weekly basis, however often that you would want this. And that becomes then real-time data, as often, as real-time as you want it to be for your category managers and your merchandisers to make decisions about how you want to be positioning your products in the market. And that can lead to better pricing optimization, better volume, if that's what you want to be driving. You can kind of make more nuanced decisions about which of your products are leaders versus which ones are, just need to clear the shelves with, etc. So that's another example, I think, of how retailers can really use AI to speed up their sales and marketing side from a pricing perspective as well.
Yeah, and I think it's one that most retailers that sell in marketplaces anyway, that would struggle with or would have that need. I know for us, a lot of Australian marketplaces we work with, it's all buy boxes or things along those lines where if you are selling products that other people are selling as well, it is a bit of a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. But do you go in too hard, or do you sell too much, or do you sell at a higher price point? Like, for example, if someone's selling a Nike shoe at $100 and you're undercutting them by $10 and you're going in at $90, obviously by having that data, you could go in at $99 and you're making $9 margin there, being in real time. So I think that is important, and I think how AI could kind of go into that is really interesting, and it's going to be a good way forward of how we can kind of really dive into that. Marcus, I think we were just touching on how AI is helping with sales and marketing rather than just the product descriptions and data, and really how people can implement it. But do you have any examples around how AI has helped you in really with sales specifically or marketing?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just dropped off there. The internet dropped for some reason. Well, I can give you a very practical example, again, of how our technology does that, which is in the area of demand forecasting and auto replenishment. So our system, it's like to Rebecca's point earlier about camera vision. So we use camera vision now. We're starting to roll that out across our supermarkets in Hong Kong, where we're using camera vision to analyze the shelf, to see what our product levels are at shelf, and in particular to identify where there are gaps. If you're running a supermarket with, say, 25,000 SKUs, it's a very manual task for the store operations team to focus on the replenishment, right? What the replenishment levels are at the shelf level. So we use camera vision, first of all, to identify gaps and identify what our stock levels are. And then we run basically AI algorithms 4 times a day to do auto replenishment forecasting. So we analyze, we've got 326 supermarkets. They've got about 25,000 SKUs in most of them. And we run the AI 4 times a day. And basically the signals get sent down to the warehouse and the product arrives at the store. So we're really basically keeping our store shelves stocked at a much higher level than it was before. And I can give you the numbers for that. At Welcome Supermarket in Hong Kong, we were running when we were allowing our store managers to do the ordering, we were running at 21% out of stock at the shelf level. Most retailers that are not using AI would probably be around, I don't know, 10 to 15. I think we were exceptionally poor, to be absolutely honest. As soon as we turned on the AI, we were down to 3.5%. And I would argue that 2% of that 3.5% is supplier service levels, not in our control. So that is a tremendous amount of difference for the customer that's walking into the store when not 21% of the stock is missing, but only 3.5% of the stock is missing, right? So when I go into the store, I find the product that I want. I don't need to substitute it for something else, right? Or not buy something at all, or get frustrated with the supermarket and say, I'm not coming back here again, right? So if you look at, again, the like-for-like lift that you get from 21% out of stock to 3.5% has a tremendous impact on sales. So that auto replenishment that just takes away the burden today of the store teams having to manually check every shelf, to place the order and to guess what's going to sell tomorrow. Instead, it's just all run 4 times a day by AI. And it's run only 4 times a day, by the way, because we can only deliver 4 times a day to the store. Yeah, we have a tremendous impact on the customer experience, and obviously at a sales level.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think just touching on that, and obviously the product descriptions, the sales, the marketing, how do people, though, obviously AI is a powerful tool for people to use, but how accessible is AI? How can people get involved in it? If you were someone that you're talking to the audience that has some clue or little clue about AI, how can it be brought into their business? Rebecca.
Yeah, I think when it comes to adopting AI, actually, I think most companies are likely, if not themselves, already using some form of AI. Then some of the solution providers or some of the technologies that you're implementing are already utilizing AI within their technologies. And those could be first good resources to speak to and say like, hey, can you talk about like what you have to offer, and whether there's more that we can do with these existing service providers that you trust that can help to solve additional problems. But in the end, AI is just a tool to solve a problem that you have. So I think the number one rule is to not get too distracted by the shiny new objects and kind of stray the path and look at things that may not actually add any business impact. But like any other technology, I would say, my kind of advice is to be open-minded and to also keep in mind the problem that you are looking to solve, and decide, like any other technology, whether you want to build it in-house or buy it externally with a service provider once you've decided that is a problem that is worth solving. If you build it in-house with LLMs in particular, I think there is some trickiness. You'll have to figure out how to orchestrate it, ensure that it works at scale, etc. And if you are going to look for an external provider to help you, then I think definitely ask for a business case to ensure that your ROI is going to be there. Look for case studies to bolster, and ensure that you have an understanding of who within your organization is going to be the one who's going to be augmented by this AI. Right. Again, Marcus and I, like, our position is that AI is not going to be replacing anybody. It's going to be helping somebody. So who is that person within your organization that it's going to be helping? And you can always start with a proof of concept. In Trustana's case, with our customers, we always start with a 1 or 2 week proof of concept. They're really quick, a week or two. And within that time, we can look at a few hundred SKUs and already figure out what kind of uplift or organic traffic uplift we can deliver with our customers. And that makes the rest of the conversation fairly straightforward because it's very tangible. That's what you're going to be getting for your catalog. Would you like to transform your entire catalog? Would you like to utilize our SKU onboarding services? It's quite a grounded conversation. So that's kind of, I think, like an easy way to get started.
And can you see, just jump in on that one, can you see many roadblocks or hurdles retailers would need to overcome to kind of implement those strategies?
I think the number one thing objections that we see are kind of twofold, and mainly around organization. So the first is, does your organization have a culture of embracing innovation? Because AI is wonderful and can do a lot of things. At the same time, it's still not perfect and very much an innovative thing. Like, you have to take a bit of a leap. And so if your organization is not necessarily kind of known for, or it's not within the DNA to embrace innovation, are there pockets or teams where that can be kind of be taken at a smaller unit that can then be talked to and convinced to take that innovation and leap? That includes also getting leadership on board, right? So various people will have various ideas about what AI can and cannot do. And so that's, of course, why we're doing this live stream, to help to demystify some of those ideas. But of course, as AI becomes more prominent, hopefully that will become more common knowledge as well. The other barrier is around data security. I think that's the other big one. So if you're considering using an AI that will handle confidential data, then there need to be protections in place, and legal needs to be involved to ensure that nothing that should not be sent gets sent to the wrong places, and that there's that everything is being handled as securely as possible.
Yeah, no, perfect. No, very well said. I think just in terms of timing, I think what I'll do is I'll start reading out some questions that the audience has asked. I think the first one is quite a good one. I think we would all like to know is a question that just came through around the ethical considerations and the potential drawbacks associated with the increasing reliance on AI in retail. How can businesses navigate these responsibly while maximizing these benefits? Marcus, I'll throw that one out to you first.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that needs to be taken into consideration. I mean, I think in the early days of AI, if I think back to sort of 7 or 8 years ago, we definitely saw, I mean, without going into the detail, we definitely saw the biases of the, and they're unconscious biases, but the biases of the developers, individual developers, but at an aggregate level, coming through in the way that some AI models were behaving. And certainly at Ahold Delhaize, they set up an ethics committee for overseeing all of the work that we did in AI. And that committee met on a weekly basis, and it had very strong powers to oversee and audit the output of AI models. So I do think that's something that needs to be taken seriously, and you just need to be vigilant in the deployment of the models that you use. I mean, we've seen recently, obviously, some degree of scandal around the first deployment of Gemini, and so these tools cannot be just released into the wild, unmonitored and unguarded. You really need to test your models first. Make sure that the responses that you get follow an ethics framework that represents the values of your company or the values of society, and then before you actually deploy it. So it's definitely an issue. It's more impactful in some places than others, but it's something that needs to be very closely watched, I think, as AI develops.
Yeah, and I would maybe add on top of that I totally agree with what Marcus is saying. I would maybe add on top that the technology improves with usage and feedback from diverse audiences. So if number one, definitely still have a human again in the loop who's kind of utilizing this tool. But if that individual can also provide feedback on things that they're seeing, that's how the models will continue to evolve and learn. And if we only depend upon a certain population to be providing that feedback, then that's where we're just going to be building biases upon biases. So kind of having that diversity of usage from a feedback perspective, I think, is also key to ensuring that AI develops in a direction that serves all of us.
Yeah. No, definitely 100% agree. And I think that leads into the next question quite well. And in the future, do you think there is going to be a role for a head of AI?
Yeah, I think you're actually already seeing those roles pop up. Maybe not in retail just yet, but certainly in other industries, I've already seen kind of head of AI roles pop up. Usually, I see those combined as a head of AI and data, because essentially those two come hand in hand. But as companies, I suppose, build maturity in how they're developing their own technologies, that could be a critical role alongside other important technology leaders. That being said, I think it's a bit early to have a head of AI if you're kind of a retailer. I think you have plenty of other things that you need to worry about. But I do see it popping up in some of the other industries. Marcus, how about you?
No, I would agree with that completely. I would see it sitting. I mean, I think it sits in data, and that can sit in legal or audit. It depends. So it definitely needs anything to do with data these days. It certainly needs to be taken very seriously. But again, I do think it's a little bit early for head of AI, and head of AI for me is a little bit of a strange term, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is programming. And to Rebecca's point, I think for the moment, like for most companies that are trying to deploy AI, the advent of large language models has just brought that capability down to a sort of hugely democratized level, right? I mean, it is very easy for anybody to use an LLM. right? As I said at the beginning, we're communicating with it in the same way we communicate with each other, language, right? So suddenly this world of capabilities is opened up to just the average user. And to just reflect on Rebecca's point earlier, I think tone from the top in an organization is what matters, right? What does leadership want you to do? If all of the leaders in an organization are encouraging their team members to use and interact with LLMs and explore new ways to do that, that's using AI. You're already using AI, right? If you want to get to, we have teams who work on AI solutions who are, have PhDs in system engineering and, quantum computing. That's a whole different level, right? And that's, we're trying to walk into that level isn't something that I don't believe you should be thinking about if you're at the beginning of your journey, right? You're not going to be able to orchestrate that. You're not going to be able to manage teams like that. It's very complex, and it can be quite long-winded to develop products to market. So I think the great, democratization has happened with the advent of LLMs, and it's just up to your organization to say, like, how progressive do we want to be? How fierce are we about winning? What are the tools that we can deploy? An LLM is definitely going to be a tool in your arsenal. And frankly, if you're not thinking about that at this point in time, I think you're in danger of getting left behind.
No, definitely. I think one of the last questions we've got here is, which we touched on briefly before, which should be good to kind of delve into a little bit more around how can AI optimize the inventory management and supply chain in the retail industry, leading to improved efficiencies and cost savings.
There are, I think, a number of, so one way is, for instance, if you're talking about, for instance, marketplace management, again, and you've got basically and you're doing kind of you've got to maintain your inventory levels across various marketplaces, then AI can be a tool to help you to manage your inventory numbers across. And I think actually there's quite a number of providers that are already kind of doing this. If you're using an e-commerce enabler or some sort of other service that unifies your inventory across marketplaces, then there's certainly ways that can help you to allocate inventory intelligently amongst the various platforms that you're selling in. From a supply chain perspective, I think broadly speaking, again, going kind of back to product data, and I'll hand it over to Marcus to provide a different viewpoint as well. For instance, compliance, right? So this is something that, again, that we had seen, that we see potential in doing as well, which is if you're importing and exporting, let's say, F&B across a variety of geographies, then AI actually could help you to do some of the preliminary compliance checks. So, for instance, like, hey, what are the rules for importing pepper into Singapore? Those are actually questions that could be answered assuming that you had that data within your product catalog and could kind of feed it at scale. And that won't give you the perfect, like, hey, here's all the forms filled out necessarily, but it can give you a look. These are probably a yes. These are a maybe. Need a little bit more viewpoints to look into, and these are no. These are not gonna work. So supply chain obviously is a very, very broad area. But there's certainly, I think, ideas and ways that people can utilize AI in those spaces too. Maybe over to Marcus for some additional ideas. Oh,
but I was just going to touch on that.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that I mean, my company today, our system is a SaaS platform, so it's digital, it's all real time. And so when we deploy a retailer onto our platform, we have full visibility in real time of all of their data, right? And we spent years building this platform, and having built the core platform out. Today, almost everything that we do is actually just AI solutions that sit on top of that, because we have digital data and it's real time. It just opens up a whole world of our developers, right? So we have smart cleaning robots, smart energy systems to manage our renewables, so we can switch from solar to wind, to battery storage, to run off battery power when we think grid pricing is too high. And we can monitor. We have tens of thousands of AI, what we call AIoT, so internet connected devices in stores monitoring refrigeration, whatever. We've driven down costs at a store level for energy, for example, by 12% for most of our retailers across, and that's an average at a store level. I talked earlier about auto replenishment. If you zoom out further, when we start to connect the suppliers of our customers into our system, we can start to see more upstream where inventory is. This gets into the area of like the concept of supply chain control towers. So when you do get into looking at really advanced AI capabilities, often third-party providers are the way to go, right? Those are people who've already invested in AI. They understand it. They've got teams of experts that have built the AI. And then they can just deploy that to your business. And so a supply chain control tower provider can just really look right across your inventory supply chain. And I can see that, look, if I've got a cheese that's coming from, New Zealand to Hong Kong and it's hasn't left the supplier's warehouse at the time that it should have done, I know that the AI has to come up with an alternative source of that cheese for me in real time, right? And that is what supply chain control tower systems do. They are just monitoring all the warehouses. It could be P&G stuff, Unilever in my industry, and making recommendations to me based on information that they're getting about movement of inventory right upstream in the supply chain, right? So, and again, humans just can't do that, right? But you do need data, and the more digital you are, the more real time you are, the better you're going to be at that. If all of your systems are analog, and you're running on archaic systems, which we were, and a lot of retailers are, you really need to think about having that core digitization of your base in order to be able to kind of bring out the best of AI on top of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think we've almost at our time, so I think we'll just go over what we've covered today. And I think the grounded AI approach was going through the mystique and focusing on the practicality and actual AI actions, where AI applications in retail moving beyond the hype. We talked about the integration, discussed about the seamlessly integrating into our existing systems and how we can do that. But mainly also looking at the profitability of AI and how we can highlight driven strategies around that, as well as increasing conversions. But no, I think Rebecca, Marcus, it's been lovely to talk to you guys today, and I think it's been a really great insight, especially for me as well as a retailer, to really learn how you both wealth of experiences and how we can really learn from that as well. It's been great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.